it is really interesting what's playing out today, really, especially as it concerns our politics. Somewhat, I can forgive those who are new, who are maybe 10 years, 15 years, or even 20 years ready to eat, ready to feast politicians. But it is somewhat unforgivable for somebody at the level of Tinubu to be forgiven when it comes to playing these types of politics. You would think that this person is experienced. I mean, if younger politicians are playing this kind of childish game of let me go where the center is, let me go where the center is, you'd say, okay, now small, but it's still a grow for the politics game. And after all, our democracy hasn't really aged to the point of, having ideology fixed on each political party, just like we have in the UK and the US and other part of the world. It is not the same thing for Nigeria. We're still building, we're still creating and recreating. You can also see that even our laws are somewhat flawed, to the extent that anybody can wake up anytime, can say they're no longer in one party and still carry the mandate that they got in the other party into another party. There's still a lacuna. We haven't firmed up that particular point. Of course, it's then that, but should be like there's something around it. If somebody wants to defect, it's just to create problem in that party and say there's problem and they move. So it hasn't really, it hasn't really firmed up. And the only people who can firm it up are people who are in power. People who are in power. And even if INEC tries to propose it, these guys will not allow it because they know that it's a way out of some of their issues. Instead of sitting back in your political party to resolve a problem, to resolve a matter, you want to defect, to go to some other place that they have laid their bed and it's easy for you to, you think it's easy for you to win. Anyways, let me bring to your notice, this background I'm giving, how Tinubu himself has been exposed in so many different ways. There are several things that he has done, that one can pinpoint and say, this is not the Tinubu that was in the opposition. Yes, several things. One amongst them in the past, I'll just pick one and then come to what I'm saying. The fact that this man protested. He protested against Jonathan. He was very antagonistic against Obasanjo. In fact, his party at the time was ruling all across Southwest. He stayed long, even before that 1999 that he took over Lagos State as the governor. He was really strong with opposing the military government, fights for democracy, the Nadeko, swings. I mean, so many things that this guy did. You cannot, write Nigeria's political history in the Southwest without actually putting in Jagaban somewhere. So give it to him, no doubt. But there's still some things that really doesn't add up. How do you not allow people to protest? How do you carry police to stop people from protesting, to shoot them tear gas, to disperse them? But you did the same thing while you were in the opposition. So it's a case of I'm not the one in power. I can critique you. You are in power, but you cannot critique me because I'm in power. It's a case of don't do what I would do if I'm in the opposition. Why is that? Why is the very essence of our democracy being eroded? Because somebody is in power. And so when you're no longer in power, you become worse than the person you thought you could be. It's crazy. Now, there is this particular message, there's this particular story on Vanguard that the president, Tinubu himself, this is in 2010, 15 years ago, some 15 years ago, he kicked against one party state. Let me read that particular story. The story is by Kenneth Higiato. It is a Vanguard story on August 7, 2010. This is 15 years ago. And here is the story. He wrote, former Lagos State Governor Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu has warned against allowing the country to drift into a one-party state. Tinubu, who spoke in an interview with newsmen at the presidential wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos, said the actions of the National Assembly, peopled by mainly People's Democratic Party, the PDP members, was drifting Nigeria towards an authoritarian state. Tinubu warned the leaders of the National Assembly at the time against allowing the country to drift into a one-party state, a move he said would turn Nigeria to an authoritarian state. He berated the National Assembly, which was dominated by the PDP members, for making laws in a customized and personalized form and not the constitutional way. In a striking statement that just this particular statement clearly goes against what he said recently. I mean, we all know what he said. I mean, just in case you missed out on it, here is what he says.
I just need to tell those ones saying one-party system is no good. It's one party ruling and driving the aspiration of Nigerians.
You know, it's shocking because how do you then trust politicians? I mean, if somebody has been in the opposition for this long a time and stayed still and stayed true, and all of a sudden he was able to rock his way into, the presidency, and you would think that this person would be a lot better because he has been in the critic side of life, because he has been in the side of things that he has criticized. Is there, like, frankly speaking, is there anything at all that this guy has done as president that his predecessors haven't done and done worse? I mean, what is that thing? I don't know, really. I really don't know. So it becomes difficult to even trust a Nigerian politician. It really, really becomes difficult. So if we cannot trust somebody like Jagaban, who played very good opposition politics, who everyone would think would do better when they become the leaders, when they become president, then you can now start saying, like, so why would you want to trust any of these politicians who started doing politics 20, 10, 15 years ago? How would you trust them? He just laid a very bad precedence. And that very bad precedence stems from the exact thing that we are seeing. Is practically opposite what we know him to be. He has virtually become the thing he criticized as opposition leader. He is practically the embodiment of the things he criticized as an opposition. So who do you want to trust? Who do you want to trust with our governance? That is the part of the reason why I said none of these politicians are saints, including the Peter Obio. I'm an obedient, straightforward. But with what we have seen so far, yes, you could say Obi might have a little bit of a mildness in terms of his approach to things, but they're all going to be the same thing. I'm not even preaching don't vote for Peter Obi or vote for Peter Obi or don't. These guys, I don't know. As soon as you take over power, I don't know whether it's something that just takes over your head in Nigeria. You tend to forget everything. Buhari, are there things that Buhari did throughout his 8 years in office that he wasn't criticized against? He was criticizing Jonathan. He came in and did worse than Jonathan. We were criticizing Buhari. Tinubu fell short of criticizing Buhari because he was scared that if he criticizes Buhari, Buhari might not hand over to him. And so he was limited with his criticism. Remember, All the farmers had slash that he needed to speak about, he couldn't because he was scared of Buhari. So that Buhari will not scuttle his chances. And so you become now you have not assumed of you are now the number one, you are now the president of the nation. And then you are worse than the person you criticized. Can you compare Jagaban 2 years and good Lord Jonathan's first 2 years in office between 2011 and 2013? Can you compare that? You can't. It's like light and darkness. It's not possible. But this guy's sponsored Occupy Nigeria across Nigeria. Yet you can't do that now under him because he's now the president. Does that make any sense to anybody? What's all this deceit? I don't know, man. I don't know. This thing just makes me not even trust even the Peter will be that way. We are projecting or we're trying to project. But it's true. They're not in any way people you can lay your hands on and say, well, because he opposed this thing, when he gets in there, he will not be worse than that. It's madness, man. It's madness. Tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. And so coming to Akpabio, of course, for all that it is worth, Akpabio hasn't really shown to be a politician that has integrity, that you can put your hands on and say you trust this man to do the Lord's work when it comes to delivering good governance or even doing the right things. Another old Facebook post resurfaced where Akpabio, was stating some facts, and an old 2016 old anti-defection post surfaced recently, and it's accredited to Akpabio. It's also raising concerns on integrity of the Nigerian politician and double standards. It says, quote, as lawmakers, senators must not encourage political rascality. That is why PDP senators today staged a walkout to protest the purported defection of Senator Yele Omogua, who was elected on the platform of the PDP but claimed he wants to defect to APC to support the governor-elect of his state. The constitution is clear on this, that if a senator defects to another political party, he loses his seat. So Akpabio in 2016 led other senators to stage a walkout for somebody defecting from his party to the APC because they want to support a governor in their state. And it was then they were doing the Lord's work. In fact, they were upholding the Constitution. But right now, the Constitution is no longer a thing because, well, they are in charge. They were not in charge at the time. They were not in charge at that time. They were in opposition. This was 2016. Remember, APC had taken power in 2015. So in 2016, that was when this happened. So at that time, this is now 9 years ago. It is bad. You can stage a walkout for these defections. But right now, because you are in power, you are now a Senate president, the leader, then it's okay for us to have one party state. Ganduje the other day was comparing Nigeria and China. Well, China, we have one party state. Why can't we have it in Nigeria anyway? Is China a democracy? China is at best communist party. So why are you comparing Nigeria and China? And why are you comparing Nigeria and China? You say this, they never ever compare Nigeria and any other political party or any other country in matters of delivering of good for democracy, whether it's healthcare, whether it's minimum wage, whether it is transportation, whether it is anything that has to do with the development of the people. They never compare this country with these other countries. But when it is convenient for them to compare this country and other countries as it relates to them, as it relates to trying to stoke, some useless ideology to promote their own sentiments, they are quick to state what's happening in other places. This is so unfortunate. This is so unfortunate. I don't know. Who else can we trust in this whole thing? Who? And that's why sometimes, even if you want to single out people, Peter Obi, what about people around him? Do you think even people around him now are even looking out for interests? Maybe they say, okay, let's just stick around. If he emerges, I will just go in there and pack my own, do my own thing, and from when I gain from prominence, I can now find my way. That like what people are doing under him in 2023. Most people won election because of him. Most people who had nothing, who Labour Party even begged to take ticket, they suddenly won the election, emerged, and they became now they are defecting. That's actually what's going to be my next video, which is Sunday Omeha, Labour Party defecting to the APC. I'm going to say something a little bit about it. But anyway, tell me what you think. I'd really love to hear from you. All right. Thank you.